All right, so pretty much what we have here today, there is a big part in this realm that has to be from the masculine. A lot of men are afraid into tapping into that masculinity. And the podcast today, pretty much our talk is to welcome all of you guys to learn, to expand, to allow yourself to believe in yourself, to be one with that spirit of yours. So it's pretty much a triangle, like they say, a trifecta. It's being mind, body, and spirit together and not being afraid in tapping into your masculinity. We're going to break down in a little bit what kind of masculinity there are. Of course, there's toxic masculinity. We don't want that. We don't want the toxic part. But we do want the light and the dark part, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, for me, ultimately, it's true a little bit of a perspective as well as to what is actually toxic. And that's where we start to discern and fear as well. So yeah, we're going to play into that a little bit and help you understand more about yourself and your decisions around what is toxic and what is beneficial to you. What is a healthy expression of that dark masculine in a beautiful way.
So one of the first bullet points, like when we were talking the other day, like that's how the idea came up to flourishment. It's like kind of like the main things, let's say for me as a personal trainer or working with medicines and ceremonies, is it's also the main let's say step to get to the healing process, to the openness of understanding what's happening, is pretty much know where does that fear come from. Where does it come from? Is it from experience? Is it from your own self-beliefs? Is it from things that you've been growing with in a family, like environment? So what do you think about that? Like, where does that fear come from? Because a lot of men, let's say, like nowadays, we fear sometimes being in that masculine because we, let's say on my part, like sometimes afraid to hurt a rose. But sometimes, it's like, am I really hurting it? Or is it, the environment? Or is it my mind? Is it me actually creating that? So that's like...
Yeah. So I think something beautiful to ask yourself that question. I can have an answer for you, but ultimately I want you to find your own. As an empowerment guide, my life mission here is to help empower others. So I can tell you my perspective, I can tell you my stories, my tools, but ultimately I want you to discover your own tools, your own discernments, and your own choices in how to empower yourself to drop into these darker aspects, to come in with a healthy, strong masculine. So, in answer to this question, for me, the fear comes in when it's about hurting people. There's a fear of hurting people. And it's understandable. There's a part of oneself, the heart, which cares, it loves, and for it to pull apart a rose, for it to devour an animal, for it to be in that killer, for me, that's what I'm gonna draw in as this darker masculine. There's that killer, there's that warrior that's a part of us that needs to destroy or needs to protect. And really, that is what, for me, I have been afraid of expressing. And expressing that because, especially when we feel that is untamed, or it's like if you just let that beast go wild, it could kill a loved one, it could damage something that is meaningful to that beast, to that animal, to yourself. And so that's the fear.
But I think the fear, that comes in is the not knowing how to tame that, how to canalize that energy
Exactly.
into becoming what we call a sacred masculine, where it's like the safe space, the creator of safe space. Um, it's pretty much, like we go back in ages where it's like, I know we got actually the feminine into a really good position nowadays, but I feel that a lot of the feminine are getting into the toxic femininity, and then a lot of men are afraid now to step up because they can either end up in jail or they can end up saying something they shouldn't and they end up alone, or like especially in like in relationships nowadays, like a woman says, oh yeah, but I'm strong enough and I can do everything by my own, but then they demand certain things from a man. It's like, girl, if you can do things on your own, then do them on your own. If you want to accept a man in to your life, and the man that does want to accept you in their life too, then it's all about to growing and what we can build. A man is actually a constructor, like that's where the energy comes in. We are meant to build, we are meant to like just create, and the feminine is there to help us elevate. It's been actually saying the Torah and the Quran, the Sanskrit, the ancient scripts, the feminine is there to like help us believe in ourselves. But nowadays it seems like like the feminine has taken over a little bit too much of that freedom, which is not bad. You're allowed to feel free, you're allowed to feel that love, you're allowed to feel yourself and that power within yourself, though, because you still have masculine in you, but allowing a man to believe in himself, not only does that bring you joy and happiness, but it also brings and adds on to your life. It's not about bashing men down that you will create yourself. You're actually more inflating your own ego. And then what does to men, then men get afraid. And then this is where society is now. It's like where certain men can't no more with their lives, and they decide to do certain things such as depart from this world. The biggest like the biggest percentage of people committing like that act of living this world, it's from men, it's from masculine. And because the world is hard, and we're taught from a small age like how a mother is supposed it's loving us and how that feminine is with us. But then we go into the dating world, into the adult world, and that's a thing that takes a little sideways sometimes, where it's like some women think that they have to be treated in a certain way, but they're entitled to it. So it's like when they mess up or something, a man is afraid of saying something because they're like, shit.
So the piece that I want to draw in there is like, I like to bring everything back to the self as an expression of self, as well as there's an internal part of myself that is also playing up as the feminine. And so when I'm afraid to express or ask for something or to say something in a certain way, there's also a part of myself that is afraid to do that, that is afraid to step into that masculine, that desires, like, that is I based. It's like, I want to devour and eat this thing, I want to conquer.
Yes.
And afraid to conquer because, pulling back a little bit, that repercussion, yes, hurting others, but I don't know if I said clearly, is like hurting self as well, because it's like afraid of the consequences of those actions.
Yeah.
When the beast, the dark masculine, that part that we might fear, becomes untamed, and you're not consciously in, I prefer the word leadership than control.
Yes.
But when you're not consciously in leadership of that part of yourself, and you're not aware of what the future, you're just solely present, like,
yeah. So that's actually really interesting, because now, speaking of the actual like fear, sometimes that like problem comes tied into like past wounds, like things that we like we live through, like abuse. A lot of times we don't speak about these things, but men do get abused a lot of times in like relationships, in friendship environments, where like I told you, you're meant to like kind of like just hide, and sometimes when you're like having enough of that, it explodes, and then people go like, what the fuck, he's scary, he's bad, he's this, he's that. But no, he just doesn't know how to control. He didn't know first, he couldn't because he was afraid of speaking up for himself. Second, being afraid of like the rejection of what may happen if you say something, like what may happen if you express your feelings or if you express yourself. And then, it's like kind of like getting into that background of that toxicity, like environment. And if you don't, and I mean, if you don't keep your circle clean, your people, like aligned, and you don't have that safe space, I strongly suggest you get that, and I 100% encourage you to find that crew, to find that group of people. If it's not with your wife or your couple partner, with a friend, so you can actually allow yourself to then express and process what's happening with you. Then you're more aware of that energy, like that gets stuck, and then like you allow yourself to then feel, but then also analyze yourself, like know where to put your energy.
Yeah, a great analogy that was kind of coming to me from that was, if you've got this beast part of yourself, you're in a kingdom, and you've got this beast that's, can go out and win wars, it can conquer, it can do all these things, but you just keep it locked in this cage. It's going to get really angry, and then eventually at some point someone
break the cage out.
Someone comes in and basically breaks it out with their action of poking you, kind of thing, in the real world. And that beast releases and goes crazy. Whereas like what we're here to try and lead you into is this way of becoming friends with that beast in your kingdom, so you can be like, beast, go and ravage that kingdom, go and like,
it's more weird direction,
in a healthy way. Yeah. And you're kind of friends with it rather than afraid of it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the actual part of martial arts, like when you understand how to be a warrior in a garden and not a garden at war, because that's the analogy behind that.
Mm-hmm.
That's really beautiful though, like. And it's also like, I feel that a lot of men have that fear as well, because they don't feel good enough. They don't feel that their job is not good enough, that they're working for something that is not good enough, that whatever they can provide is not good enough. But dude, you understand that we actually got created to help each other, right? So that's where the actual battle is happening now in this world. That's what I see, is that everyone is trying to get up by pushing everyone down. But at the same time that you're pushing people down, you're not just getting up, you're just stepping over people, but you're not up. You're just standing, people are just on the floor, but wait until they get up, and then you're not watching your back. That right there could also be, like what adds to the toxic masculinity, which that's why, like we encourage people to work and taming that beast, into like working with that manhood, working with a mentor, working with a brother, with a friend. Your circle is very important though, and never being afraid, like of being not good enough, because you are more than enough. By you feeling that you're not good enough is pretty much a disconnection from your masculinity. It's a disconnection from reality. Once you start believing something, that belief right there though is like a little wound, I must say, like, and it's just waiting to pop the balloons. So it's like, why having that in your life? Surround yourself with people that make you feel higher. Of course, once you're sitting in a circle, you must also do the work to keep that circle up. It doesn't go just one way, it goes both ways. It's like you bring onto the table, and the table brings to you. I have friends actually that keep in check sometimes. It's like you have their energy or themselves, they go like, Carlo, don't do that. I was like, oh, careful. It's like, that's my circle always keeps me elevated, but I also have a duty to that circle, like to the people in my surroundings, my environment, and that's how we keep elevated. If we see someone down, we just grab them, put them back up. That's how it goes. Life is beautiful, and you must learn how to live it that way. Simple, you know?
Yeah. So what do you think if someone's on the other side of this camera and they're kind of coming into this space like, I'm super afraid of this part of myself, and they've started identifying with it now? They're like, okay, maybe it's because of this fear of hurting others or myself or something else, whatever you may find.
Mm.
What is something that they want to learn right now? What are they feeling?
I mean, is
What
that people
this?
are mostly, like associating masculinity nowadays and now ages with like aggression, dominance, or lack of safety, because it's like that beast that is not tamed. But that's because we got to the point where it's like it's all that fear, like everything is fear based, instead of like accepting that power within yourself. And if you want to evolve, if you want to get out there, the main thing that you have to do is sit down with yourself. It takes 5 minutes a day. Feel your breath, connect with your breath. That's actually something I do. It's like a lot of like breath work, like just connect with your breath. Allow yourself to feel safe. Allow yourself to feel one with your breath, and then ground in the moment, in the present. Then you'll understand now that like masculinity, without any other energy around you, then you'll understand yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful tool. And
Mm.
something I like to say in every moment when you want to change something, step number one, awareness. So the fact you're on this call, on this page, wherever you are right now seeing this, means that you are aware. You're aware that you have the capacity to step more into a more powerful, darker aspect of yourself,
Ooh,
and
I
you
like
may
that.
be afraid of it.
Mm.
So you're here. You're taking step one.
Actually, something that you're talking about dark now, like a lot of people will get into like dark and light, and that's actually bad. Like, no.
Yeah.
When we talk about the light masculine, I did a research on this, if I may read it though. It's actually really beautiful though. So the light masculine energy is like clarity, protection, direction, discipline. Like, how you've tamed that monster, you've tamed that energy that's like, now it's like there to create light, to do beautiful things, like serenity. And then we have the dark masculine energy, where a lot of people will go like, oh, what's dark energy? But it goes more into the power, the assertiveness, the raw drive of like creation, of like, I know I can get that, I know that, or supporting friends, like, get up, let's go, like, you got this. Or as a trainer, what are you doing? Give me 3 more. I can't no more. Give me 3 more. So it's more like that, like, like that drive. That's the dark masculine, where we're like more assertive, more like that, like raw,
Yeah. So there's there's a great analogy for this too, which is the elephant and the rider. And we use it a lot in emotional work, where the emotion is like the elephant and the rider is like the brain. And so in analogy to this, the darker masculine is like the emotion, and the light masculine is like the rider on the elephant. And if you have leadership of the elephant, you can create powerfully, you can do so many powerful things. But if the rider is afraid of the elephant, afraid of the darker masculine, and the darker masculine just goes wild, the rider struggles to maintain that unless he is aware, knows the tools, right?
It's actually, like, the that analogy goes for the cowboys. Like, I don't know why, vision cowboys. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's all the same.
How you grab a horse? If you grab a horse, like, slowly, the horse is gonna feel that fear. It's like you're not sure of yourself. So he's gonna be like, if he's not sure of himself, he's gonna injure me. He's gonna injure himself. What the fuck is he doing on my back? If you grab him too hard, too aggressive, then he's gonna be like, whoa, and then he's gonna react to it. But if you have that confidence and you get on that horse and you make that horse feel confident, that horse can do wonders with you. Just that, like that's the you went into the cowboy. I don't know why I'm like
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can all draw different analogies to this. This
yeah,
is
but
just like,
it's the same
yeah.
thing. Like you tell the elephant how you're feeling by the emotion, by how you're like grabbing it, by how you're conducting yourself, how you trust yourself, mostly how you believe in yourself. That's,
Yeah, leading by the confidence in the leader.
Yeah, and I feel that it's important to embrace, you know, like the light and the dark, because if you want to kind of like reject one side or the other, then you're pretty much putting aside your masculinity entirely. You're just being either too much light or either too much dark. And it's all about the balance. It's embracing both sides so you can create a balanced life, a balanced way of understanding yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, in that analogy is the same as when we're talking about the kingdom and locking the beast away.
Yeah.
If you're locking the beast away, you're not loving the darker aspect of the self. Where if you love the darker aspect of the self, it's in the kingdom with you, but you're working together.
Yeah.
Same.
That's
it's like
cool.
just to draw it back to that analogy.
Wow. That's very beautiful though. Wow. So, okay, I have a question though. How do we spot the difference between healthy dark masculine versus toxic expressions? Because there is also a lot of people that may think that dark masculinity is also that like but you know could also fall into the darker expressions where it's like toxic. It becomes more like I want it this way and I want it this way because I want it this way. And then you know like your environment. I've been sometimes in I've seen actually toxic masculine in a woman sometimes though.
Yeah.
Or there nowadays they go like, no, I want it my way and this is my way and this is the only way. I'm like, whoa, babe, like okay, fine, you got your way, but like how do you want to like you know like provide that sense of safety, you know, like for men to understand that it's like yes, there is, like I said at the beginning, there is good masculinity, but we also have toxic masculinity, and that's where we personally I draw the line there for myself. I would never fall into toxic masculinity. I've done my work though. I've done my self work, and I can tell you a lot of times it goes really into like understanding yourself, like martial arts. You know, like I've been with my senseis. I've been with people, and especially senseis. You know, I've got the shit beat out of me just and to understand to tame my ego. It's like yeah, the ego is good when you want to look good, smell good, feel nice. That's perfect. But when it goes into the toxic, where you like walk over people and like I'm like dude, like chill down.
So based on what we've been sharing, I think the best analogy for that is like when it's untamed and tamed. So when you're in that kingdom, you're working with your darker aspect, the beast aspect, and it becomes very I want this, I want that, I based, and it's hurting people. Now, for me personally, I think especially coming from this kind of like nice guy who was so I don't want to walk over anyone's feelings, no nothing, right? So for me my line is physical and emotional abuse in a like a conscious way. If I'm like physically hurting someone or I'm like just really emotionally shouting at them from that pain body, that anger space where it's not actually controlled, and later on you look back and you're like
shit,
fuck, fuck, oh they just put me in prison, fuck. That's more when it becomes toxic. However, when it's like I really want this and all it's going to affect is your opinion, that's more where I'm like step into this and be like, no, I stand in my power and my choice, my decision of what I would like to happen in this space. I am not going to force you to follow my will. However, this is my desire. I proclaim, and if you fulfill it or not, great. Now, when it becomes toxic, if I say, if you don't fulfill this, something bad, emotionally or physically, will happen to you.
Yeah,
That for me is that break when I'm like, okay, that becomes toxic and damaging to others.
it's pretty much interesting though. And personally, like I feel that the importance of like knowing how like to differentiate the toxic to the actual masculine raw energy where it's like creative, it's awareness, and like I personally, for awareness practices, I like to do ice baths, like breath work, martial arts, where like I keep myself in check, I keep myself elevated, I keep my surroundings healthy. Like especially in martial arts, it's really interesting though how to see myself though, because I observe myself sometimes. It's like observing myself how to work with someone that doesn't know how to spar, but they have that toxic masculinity and they go like really at it, and it's like I'm just smiling because I'm like I could see me when I had that work to do. I just go like sit down. It's like, oh, and they go like, okay. I'm like, yeah, just we're playing, we're having fun. So it's kind of like keeping that surrounding that keeps you in check, but also understanding that he gave me a punch to knock me out. It's like, hey, I have a flip switch. I give you one advice: don't do that. Otherwise, then that like that monster, I tell him what to do and he'll do it. So it's more like understanding how to have that awareness. So it's like breath work, like it brings your awareness into being, into like just connecting with yourself, but also into being present. That's how you can actually feel that energy from the prana, and then you're like,
100%,
wow.
So presence, my number one is meditation.
Yeah.
And like the basic tool that I can give you for like beginning on this meditation journey, if that's something that you choose to delve into, if you're wanting to integrate more of this leadership of that masculine that you may be afraid of, is this breathwork practice and meditation, which is basically just being aware of your breath, following it, super simple, and then be aware of your awareness of your breath. So it's like you zoom out and you're somewhere like up behind yourself, observing yourself breathing. That is so simple, but it'll change your entire life.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much creating awareness in yourself. And, like that brings me actually to you guys, like you might be a little bit afraid into entering a martial art class, because if you're like me though, like I'm not afraid, but I like my nice space. And this Saturday that was there, I had a little bruise on my side, leave. I'm like, oh, those are the things I don't miss about fighting though. But it was very fun. It was really nice to like connect with the people. But sometimes if you feel that fear of a one kind of practice, you have the other way: meditation, sit with yourself, breath work, sit with yourself, ice bath. Oh my gosh, ice bath is one of my favorite ones, but not everyone knows how to guide them or properly introduce you to yourself. So it kind of like, for some people, will create, instead of that goodness, it will create a toxicity. So that's why it's one of the things that I'm very like, since I started coaching ice baths, I see that. And I encourage you guys to not be afraid, don't have fear into experiencing now that tapping into that masculine energy. Do it through how you feel more safe, through how you feel more aligned to. This is not a you should do it this way. I'm not telling a fish how to climb a tree. Everyone has a different way of life, perspectives, lifestyles, and the encouragement comes more for yourself, to allow yourself to tap into that masculine energy, and then elevate, like your frequency, not from fear, but now create out of understanding, out of like having that pain. Stuff.
Yeah. And so I love doing a lot of belief work in my coaching, my guidance. And the piece I'll drop for you there is, once you have that awareness and you want to shift, the first thing you can see is like, there are men out there who are doing this. There are men who have healthy leadership of their darker masculine, that are creating with it, that are ravishing their partners for hours with it, that are like using this in a healthy way. So one, they're doing it. What does that mean? It means you can do it too. Like 100%, right?
100%.
Especially like us, we came from that space of being afraid of it. And at times, like 100%, I still notice those little tickles of fear come in here and there. It's not about being
what's
perfect.
Also, you know what's also very funny though?
Yeah.
When we talk about, and I know you might be connected to it, a lot of people go like, especially when I tell them, yes, you have that masculine, but you also have the feminine. They go like right away, like, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, yeah. You have that balance in you because you also want to take care of this masculine energy. You also want to take care of how you look, how you address yourself, how you talk to yourself, though. And that's where the feminine comes in, where it's like you nourish yourself by how you talk to yourself. So there is a sentence that I always say, be aware of how you speak to yourself because you're listening.
100%, yeah.
So it's creating that balance now in the masculine and the feminine. And now to people to get to the point of like them doing the work is not being hard on yourself on like, oh my gosh, they've done it, I haven't done it, or no. Like understand that yes, there's people that have done it, but then also be like, if they do it, I can do it. If you know, like I got myself, I got me. Like bro, I got you. And now talk to yourself.
You start building that confidence. So right now also become aware of a moment in your life when you didn't think you could do something and now you've done it. I guarantee there's billions of moments that you did that. So if you agree that that's true, then you know that it's possible to do that too.
Encourage yourself to believe that empower, like that it is empowering to be in that masculine energy. Believe it, trust in it, and then maintain yourself elevated with the feminine. Create that beautiful balance. Trust in it. Trust in yourself mostly.
And then, so the next piece I want to drop in for you as an idea that you can latch onto is finding those men. So see the men, go and find them. Wherever they are in your life that you're seeing those men, go and find them and spend time with them. The more you spend time with them,
and I'll tell you. Tell me who you hang out with, and I'll tell you who you are.
That's a great one, always.
That's an analogy I always say. You know, like, what's your circle? When people tell me, I want to change, how have you done this? What's your circle like? People that go out and drinking. That I'm not saying drinking is bad though, although like everyone would kind of have their own experiences. But when you overdo something, when you create different patterns without discipline, without understanding that self-love, then yes, that's where instead of taming the masculine and the feminine energy in you, like it's just like whatever. It's like there is no organization, there is no sense of discipline in your life. Then yes, look at your surroundings. Very important. Sometimes a lot of self-work will make you cut some people off though, and it is what it is. You know, like you want to elevate, you want to feel better. If people really love you, they're going to be there for you. And they're going to learn that and support you. And they'll also grow. Because you doing the work, you don't understand the actually impact that you have in your surroundings. Sometimes some people may see you as a danger because you feel more control. You're someone that has more confidence. And they're afraid because that's society, how it's been growing. But you're pretty much like their idol, you know, their image. They're like, oh my gosh, I want to be like that. It feels good though to be someone of change, someone that encourages people to elevate.
Yeah. 100%. That's actually... And so you've got that like surroundings, you're kind of dropping into those different groups. And then the next piece, like my suggestions that I've noticed is taking those mini steps. Like, it's not like overnight I'm going to suddenly be completely in great loving relationship with this dark aspect that I'm afraid of. No, it's going to take moments of trust. It's going to take these moments when that wants to come out and you're like, no, and you're aware of it. You're like, oh, wow, I did it.
There's something
I believe in myself.
Something really nice of this, though, that you're saying right now. And is how can let's say now this comes more into the tantric, which is really nice. So because
Yeah.
then how can men and women create that space, like where masculine energy is welcome, like rather than fear? How your partner can help you elevate and help you feel that masculine energy, that creator, that like provider, that protector, but also that driven person that you want that house, you can get it. You want that car, you can get it. If you have it in your mind, you can put it in your hand. If you have it in your hand, it's already yours. That's a brother of mine, Joe Dispenza, that actually says it, and Jeff as well. It's like that's the reasoning behind the ice bath. Like if you have it in your mind, you can put it in your hand. If you have it in your hand, it's already yours. Meaning that if you're already in the podcast and the encouragement is already there, it's already planted, then who are the closest woman to you? Like the woman that can support that masculine energy and not, rather than help you fear it, more kind of like help you, or like push you to understand it more, like feel it more, and creating that safe space for you to then feel that masculine.
And I think depending where you are,
Yeah.
like stepping stones, it can be, if you're quite afraid of this energy, it can be important to find the brotherhood first.
Yes.
As
correct.
a stepping stone, because like for me, in my experience, expressing that stuff with a feminine is like there's more fear there because it's more delicate, more like, more kind of dangerous, especially in society's view of like that's often where the fear can come from in society, is we're afraid of that feminine judgment, internal self-judgment as well.
That's what I told people, like the women that are close to you, that know you can like kind of trust, you have like you have taught, not just women, like most of the times men are afraid of like their sister or mother, but I mean about like women that know you, or your partner, which is more important if you guys have a partner. If not, then don't worry, first you need to work on yourself, then the woman will appear in your life. That stays there. But for the men that have a like a partner, it is encouraged to get those practices in where like you both sit down and then feel that masculine energy, meditate, and have that energetic exchange into like masculine and feminine, and feel each other, breathe, which is what one of the things that he does. He does a lot of like tantric practices, like where it's like he can explain more in depth of what tantra is like, which a lot of people don't understand what it really means.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks it's just sexual. No, it goes deeper than that. It goes more into like it starts from the personal though. It starts with you, and then you go into the safe space, but allowing yourself to believe in that masculine energy will then help you in other things in life. You'll be surprised of what the magic can happen when you're in that creator part.
Yeah, I'll just say though, like I don't actually share much of the tantric stuff, especially because most of social media, it's like it's
everyone thinks that it's just
gotta,
sexual, and it's like they kind of connect the tantric practices to right away sex, or like pornography, or like dude, it's not that. It's like,
because literally if you put any words related to sex, tantra, any of that kind of stuff on social media, very often you get banned, right? And it's a whole other world. I have lots of friends that are into that world, and they spend hours like editing their posts to make sure they're not going to get banned, or like and it's like.
But let's say like when you go into tantric, you first off like start believing understanding the energy flows of yourself, which is the key. We talk about in martial arts. It's just putting a label to something, but it's all about energies, masculine and feminine energy.
Yeah.
How you allow yourself to balance in that. And I encourage you guys to look it up more, a little bit into depth into what real energy flows are, masculine and feminine. And then provide yourself of that circle, of that environment,
100%. And I think Tantra is a beautiful space to help bring out these darker aspects, as well as we've discussed around like bringing it out in the bedroom or in other spaces, kind of that leadership space.
That stays with you guys in your bedroom though.
Yeah. but I think, yeah, there are so many ways outside of tantra that again can become stepping stones to lead into that. It's like if I just went into a tantric relationship and came in and was just tried to be super dominant, but I felt like I didn't have leadership of that like dominance, or I didn't have the awareness to judge when it was good to do that or when it was like, you know, safe word worthy, and could end up hurting.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Exactly.
and we, I mean, we've covered quite a few of those little tools:
Mm.
meditation, ice baths, martial arts, any kind of like fighting and boxing can be really powerful as well.
Mm. It's
Yeah,
pretty much training the mind, like to be that man, training
Mhm.
your mind to have that masculine connection, to have the balance in between the masculine and your feminine, which again, it's the balance though. It's just believing in yourself. Train your mind to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Train the mind to
And we do that by repeatedly doing
exactly.
something, by training and like building up all these consecutive moments of memory when you're like, oh yes, I had a choice, I pulled back out of that moment, I had awareness, I led that emotion, I led that darker masculine, I can do this. Boom, impound on the belief.
So that's
and
what
the fear lessons.
I actually wrote a sentence about that though. It's
Cool.
so interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read it. So it's like being the man means responsibility, presence, consistency, rather than control and dominance. So it's not about controlling, it's not about dominating, it's about being responsible with that masculine energy, being responsible of your presence, being responsible of how you treat, like others, like your partner, your friends, like rather than having that like trying to control or trying to dominate people.
Yeah.
Which at some point, yes, you control and dominate your environment, but
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, it goes down into like what you want to see in the world, like that will bring your circle around.
Yeah, well, I think that draws back to what we were saying earlier about how leadership over control. It's like, I want you to do this. It's being
yes.
claimership of your desires and expressions. But as soon as you become forceful, other than your energetic desire and expression of what you want, it becomes control.
Yes.
Rather than like directing the river, you're kind of just like trying to like
yeah, exactly. Instead of be like water. Instead of being that water that's like, you how does a river work? Like if a river is stagnant and there is no flow in it, then there is no nutrients in it. The water dies. There is no oxygenation. But if the water is flowing and it has a route and it has a way of moving, then the oxygenation, the clearness, like they say, like the mountains, like the longer the water is like falling down, like coming for certain stones, it gets clear and clean. That's, and that's how it goes. It flows rather than just being that wall against your own flow.
And I mean, that comes into play a little bit more for me in the emotional side of things, because I'm really delving into that world, especially a lot at the moment. And instead of trying to block your emotions, right, putting the beast in the cage, you're leading the beast, as we've expressed earlier. It's that leadership and working with it. You can't just stop, or you can kind of just stop the river, but it takes a lot more strength, a lot more just like stop the river, and the river like doesn't like it because it becomes stagnant and can't flow anymore, and it builds up, and may end up overflowing. Whereas if you direct the water, especially if you where you want it to go, to create something, to water something, to nourish something. I use that in like my life. If I have these big dense emotions, I can be like push it down, or I can like transmute, which is another option, which is kind of hard to draw into the water analogy, but
yeah, it's transmutation. Yes,
but then you can also direct it. So I can put it into a project, I can do something powerful with it. And it's the same as that energy that you might be afraid of, you have the power to direct it, to lead it. And by
Yeah.
doing these practices that we've shared, getting around the right people, believing in yourself, taking those steps, you can lead this darker energy, that part of yourself that you're afraid of, to support others.
Actually,
and
there
to
is a
grow
new
things.
practice though that I started doing, more often, and it keeps me very in check, is journaling. Like journaling, understanding, like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, how was my day? You ask yourself, you talk to yourself through a journal, then you're able to understand more of like how your day flowed, what happened, and then do also some like practice of affirmations. In the morning, you do some affirmations, and then see how those affirmations then end up in the end of the day. Like affirmation, like kind of like, this day is going to be beautiful, or you want peace, you want expansion. Just work with that, play with it, and then you'll see how then once you get to that point at the end of the day, you're like, oh shit, really, wow. And then that's where you start losing that fear of like that masculine energy that you have. Like, you're not meant to suppress it, you're meant to understand it and tame it.
And yeah, tapping. So for me, journaling is another way of bringing what we discussed earlier in step number 1, awareness. When you journal, you become aware of your actions. And when you're doing it as well, if you focus on the moments when that darker aspect of self came up and how you moved with it, especially if you take note of those moments when you let it really well, when you actually did what you want to do, where you weren't afraid of it. And by focusing on those moments, the more that you focus,
You said something really
the more
interesting
you
right now.
the more you bring it into your
So
reality.
that right there brings me into this, like literally, like I just went like, the main focus though is that there is a difference in between performing masculinity versus embodying it. So yeah, let me perform it, or let me embody it, let me be it. It's really touchy though. Wow, that's really beautiful, man. And I think with this, a lot of you guys might find, like very interesting, like into like tapping to the masculinity. And you have two people here, like myself, I'm a personal trainer. I do ice baths, breath work, so on. You can always get in contact, like, and I'm more than happy to open myself. And pretty much, I like the toolbox that I have is like to provide people that toolbox. I work with a lot of like fighters. I work with professionals, and I found myself that I was kind of like, what, like the world needs this. So then I started tapping more into helping now the brotherhood. I've worked a lot on the feminine aspect, where it's like women that were like broken or in fear, and then in being that sacred masculine there for them, helped them a lot. Now imagine what you can do in your environment if you are that safe place, like that people can actually feel okay with your leadership. They can feel safe with that leadership. They can feel that they're in a proper space. It's safe for them to have their own expression.
Yeah, and I mean, that feeds back. It's a feedback loop, because the more that others feel safe with you, the more that you feel safe with yourself.
Yes, exactly.
And that's like what you're wanting to achieve, right? Is that feeling of like safety in the self.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
To fully express, yeah.
Fuck
100%.
yes. Yeah, baby.
And where, like, whatever you end up doing with this knowledge, with these tools, yeah, thank you. It's like, you're not just, something from my experience is, I know that I didn't do this just myself. I did this for others. And if you're here, if you're afraid of that darker masculine, if you're afraid of that part of yourself, I guarantee it's because you care about other people. And if you care about other people, you want to change to help improve others' lives, not just yourself. And doing this kind of work does that.